Did you get that thing?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I guess this is it for tonight. And I don't think I think the agenda had introductions, but we all know each other, right? Are we all comfortable with everybody? Okay, okay, so and then I don't have the agenda up on my screen, but I think the second item was, oh, the third item, because the first item was Linda will push the record button. The second item was brief introductions, and the third item was concurrence. So did you all? Okay, so let me back up. Last time we met, we had talked about, and I think we emailed a bunch about pursuing a statewide study for a concurrence, and we had all the steps laid out, and then we went to caucus and it was torpedoed. So but I think the caucus, the ideas we came up with at caucus were better. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel. I've talked to some of you, but I haven't talked to everybody. But it just seems to me, we've been studying forever, and we have this position that I think everybody has decided will work for us. And from what Christina Matthew and Linda Mahan said, we really shouldn't wait till November to start lobbying people to join our concurrence thingy, whatever we call this, concurrence pursuit or whatever. So we should start now, is what the message was at caucus. Is that what you all got?
Yeah.
Okay. And so that changes our approach, our strategy. But I want to make sure everybody's okay with that. You have any objections, concerns? Okay, Dix.
I don't have an objection. I just want to say, I think if we look at this, it's going to be more work right now, but it's going to be way better in the long run. That's how I look at it and see it, because if we go right to national, we cut out all the work that would have to go into getting every state to buy in. So on the one hand, it was like, oh, that means it's going to be work now. But on the other hand, I think it's a really good idea. So
yeah, I do too. So I think if everybody's okay with pursuing this as a national concurrence rather than a statewide study, and we'd only be the only ones concurring, then I think the first thing I have to do is go back to Washington and say, we changed our mind. We had better advice and we would like to pursue a national concurrence. I don't know how interested they will be in doing a lot of work because they just got done doing their study, but I can't imagine that they would know. I think we might have to say, we'll do the work and you just be there to support us. But what do you think? I mean, I think that's the first step. We have to do that.
well, and I think there's one other thing. We were originally we got the advice from someone that we had to actually do a study to do a concurrence. And it sounds like, based on what Linda and Christina have said, no. So we've had conflicting advice about how we do a concurrence. So I don't know how to build that into this conversation, but I always understood you never did a study with concurrence, or you didn't need, let's put it this way, you didn't have to do a study with concurrence, but we had advice that said you did have to, and then we had advice that said, no, you don't have to. So somehow that needs to be built into this process to figure that out, I guess. But I'm going to go with the assumption, because that's what I always thought it was. If it's a concurrence, that is not a study.
Yeah, I specifically asked Linda Mahan at the annual meeting marathon on Saturday, whether we had to do a study. I said, Maud advised that everything needs a study, and she said, no, it does not. So I don't, I'm thinking that Maud thought we had a different goal, and that's why she gave that advice. So I don't know for sure.
I'm also wondering about definition.
Yeah,
And I think that's where some of the problem is people are using words and in their context, it's meaning different things to different people. So I think we need to have a clear definition of these. And I also I'm thinking that the positions that Washington are a good start. Okay. And I was reading over them, and I thought of one thing to add to those. And then if we pull in some of the main ideas that Maine has, because that's what another set of aspects that people brought up at the annual meeting. And I think that's how you can get the concurrence, is because we're pulling these things that people have already worked on together.
So
And
what do you mean by
stepped on
definition, though? What do you mean by definition of what?
of study, because I hear study and then I hear concurrence and study, and then I hear, and then I hear a review or whatever, and it keeps coming back to the same terminology. And I think that's where people can get really confused. So I would like to have clear definitions.
Okay.
And I think I stepped on Celeste.
Yeah, Celeste,
voice.
say something.
I was kind of thinking that Washington did a study that is a basis for a concurrence. I mean, is that not correct thinking? Because Maud's saying, oh, there's a study somewhere along the way, and maybe Linda Mayen's saying, we don't have to study it, but somewhere somebody came up with something that's good enough for a concurrence, and
No, well,
that it's
yeah.
that not right?
Well, I don't know exactly. What Maud said to me is there has to be a study, but I have a feeling. So Celeste, did you want to say something?
Sure. And my video does crazy things, so we'll turn it on, but we'll see how long it works. So I know that Colorado, the state league in Colorado concurred with Boulder County's voting methods position. And then I know that later the National League concurred with the position that some other states had agreed on. So yes, at some point there has to be a study to create the initial position, but in my experience, the group that's concurring doesn't have to do a study, but I think they do have to have sort of a meeting to discuss it, and they have to have an official vote of the membership.
For the concurrence.
Yeah, I mean, this group could recommend concurrence, but it's still the membership that would have to vote on it, and there should be a caucus to discuss it so that people who want to ask questions can ask questions. But I don't think Maud is right that to concur because that's not what I've seen in the past.
I agree.
And did somebody pass out that concurrence? I got here late because I was in Denver, but you all have seen the position from Washington?
Mm-hmm.
Did was it sent to all of us?
I emailed you a copy about an hour ago, Celeste. I'm sorry.
Wonderful, great,
Okay.
thank you. I haven't checked my email.
So Celeste, would it still be a concurrence if the Washington positions are the major parts, but we wanted to add something to it?
Good question. I know that when we were with this national, they called it voter representation / electoral systems. They wanted us to concur with it. And we said, this one criterion is terrible. We cannot accept it with this. If you take it out, we're good. And they ended up taking it out, but we had to fight to take it out before it went national. So I know that for the state voting methods position, they added something to it. They added like a definition to it. When they concurred. So I think Tony Larson walked us through that whole process, and I think she would know for sure. But and another interesting thing about positions these days is that I always thought the national position was the end all be all, and then the state position had to align with the national. But there are some places where the local leagues or state leagues are allowed to have differing positions from the national. I think that was true with redistricting or behavioral health, and I know it's true with voter representation electoral systems.
I don't think you can do something.
You can't be contrary to it.
Right. But
Right.
The state positions, it kind of fill in holes, because
They
I
can be
know,
more specific. Yeah.
I mean, think about what we do in the LAC when we're creating rationales for our stances, right? We cobble together, sometimes the US position and the Colorado position, because the US is not enough, right, to make a logical argument. It's there, but it's not quite enough.
Okay, so it seems like there's a little confusion between what Linda Mahan was advising and what people are saying here.
How is that?
Well, I asked her to come to the meeting. She just said we can go for this concurrence. We need to ask Washington, get other states on board. We have to have permission from our state league, but that's just the board that has to approve that, according to Linda. And I think the bylaws have changed, so that might be true.
Yes.
So I don't know. And so I mean, I was approaching this like, we do not have to do a study. The first step is to get Washington's okay. Then we go to our state board and get their okay. And then we get other states on board to do this. And that's where the work is going to be.
But do you want to keep it only exactly what Washington has?
Well, I'm pretty sure at the caucus, what Linda said was after it's a concurrence at the national level, then at the state level, you can go back in and tweak whatever you want. I'm not sure at the national level. I don't really know. But then she started talking about cobbling things together. Do you guys remember that? I've got cobbled together in my notes.
Yeah.
I remember when you said that.
And I think so I'm not sure you must be able to change things, because you've got to she stressed how important it was to get these other states. And if we go to Maine, their ideas are different than ours. Washington's, I think, is pretty much aligned with our thoughts. I was thinking we could approach the people who did the digital equity, because that digital equity mentioned public access TV and access to news. So I think that's an important avenue. But anyway, I'm not sure That wasn't what that's what I thought Linda said, that we do need to get Washington's okay. We need to post their position somewhere like in our Google group. And we need to talk to our state board and make sure, explain to them why we want to take this to the national level instead of just staying with a state level position. That doesn't seem that hard to me, but
I
So,
think what you,
Dixie,
is that Kathy? I didn't
no,
mean
go
to-
on, go on.
I was gonna say, so it seems to me that maybe we need to talk to National. Didn't she also mention that? Get an advocate at National to work with us. So I see two things that might be left out of your plan, Linda, now that I'm hearing it like this and thinking about it. One is that we want to get somebody at the national office who's willing to kind of what do I want to say, shepherd us along a little bit and give us advice. And the other thing might be is, I think I heard Kathy say she had something that she thought should be added. And you mentioned this diversity group, that maybe we need as a group to say, okay, here's what Washington says. If we wanted it perfect for what we like, what would we think we would want to cobble together, as Linda said, and what might be missing, so that we're sure we're okay with, or maybe we're fine with just, if National says, well, if you do that, it's a huge pain, maybe we say, okay, well, we'll start with this, that's just Washington. But I feel like we ourselves need to be on the same page as to what would be ideal for us, honestly. And then, so I see those as maybe two additional steps, but basically what you're saying, I think, is what I heard Linda saying was the way to go to get it started.
right. Okay, yeah, because I think what Linda said was she sent me an email and I can pull that up if you want to see it, but the first thing she said we need to do, she goes, I'm assuming you read the position and you're all okay with that. Well, we have read the position, but we really haven't discussed the position. So maybe we need, and that's why I asked everybody to read the position before you got to the meeting. So do you want to go over the position? Does that sound like a good thing to do right now? We have time.
I think Kathy has a comment.
Kath, oh, sorry.
As I was listening to you talking about what Linda said and some of the confusion, I think it would be also be, in addition to me saying that we need clear definitions, the other thing that sounds like we need is a clear timeline. To put together a timeline so we know what comes first, what comes second, and so there's no confusion about that as well.
Okay, definitions and a timeline. Okay. All right, so if I can do this, we're good.
So the normal time to have the national adopt the position or concur with the position would be next year's convention.
Right,
Right.
And, if we had all the time in the world, we would have concurred with this position this year at the meeting we just held. But we'll have to come up with some other way to do it, like we did with the election security position. We just held a consensus meeting online. The board recommended it.
Right, because there can be.
And Linda, I gathered on the other day when they were talking, because I was listening as they changed the proposal, it can be brought forward anytime. So it's not that it has to be in the old time frame. The old time frame was you did it in time, so it went forward to this. And since it's just going to the board, it can be brought forward at other times. And so we're not quite as backed up, or as we shouldn't have as many problems as we thought we might if we had to stay with that.
yeah, I think that bylaws change went through, so you
It
don't
did.
have to
It
go
did.
to the program planning.
Because I was involved in, I'm reading the minutes for him, and so I was taking minutes closely, and it did go through.
Okay. Well, here's the position. So should we go over this again, you guys?
Mhm.
Okay, so the position in brief is the League of Women Voters of Washington believes it is the responsibility of the government to provide support for conditions under which credible local journalism can survive and thrive. The League of Women Voters of Washington defines local news as accurate, in-depth coverage of government entities, including but not limited to city councils, county boards of commissioners, health departments, schools, and school boards. And then the position more detailed is: first, the league supports credible and ethical local journalism in whatever format it is published as essential to our democracy. Two, the League of Women Voters of Washington supports efforts to ensure everyone has access to information necessary for casting an informed ballot, and that credible local news sources are integral to this pursuit. Three, the League of Women Voters of Washington believes that support for the viability of local news may take a variety of forms. Control of the content must remain exclusively with the news organizations. Or the League of Women Voters of Washington also believes media literacy and news education, including support for journalism students, is essential. These opportunities should be expanded in schools and throughout communities. And five, the League of Women Voters of Washington believes that everyone should have access to comprehensive, credible local news, and that barriers to access should be removed. And these barriers include, but are not limited to, geography, economic status, and education. That's it in a nutshell. Well, not in a nutshell, that's it.
Is my mic on? I can't see.
Yes.
Okay, I have one comment. It seems like there's a word missing from number 2. So there's parallel thoughts there. So League of Women Voters supports efforts, and then you need another verb after the and. Casting informed ballot, and maybe believes or something, and believes that credible local news sources are integral. So I think it needs another verb in there, because supports efforts doesn't go with that.
Yeah, you're right. Yep. Thank you. Okay, well, I guess the
Well, aren't
one
those two, wait,
criticism I
I'm sorry, I interrupt, but aren't those two completely different thoughts? They believe that to support efforts to ensure, and it should be, and they believe that credible local news sources are integral to this support,
Mhm.
right? So,
I think you're right that they're totally different ideas. Yeah.
right, it's just that it's, yeah, okay,
Could be
sorry.
a comma,
It's
comma, and.
No, it's just that there's no verb before that.
Right.
And so it doesn't flow from supports that credible, it doesn't work. So you have to have a different verb there.
So
Yeah.
you could just say, and believe that credible local
Yes.
news sources are integral to this pursuit.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we can change the words now. That's a good question. That's the kind of thing we'd have to work with National on, I would think.
Well, I think it's something we should tell Washington, because that's an ill-formed
clarity.
sentence.
Right.
That wouldn't pass a government editor, I can tell you that.
Well, I think when we're aiming towards concurrence, that means they're open to our ideas. I
Right.
mean, not a rubber stamp.
And I think all we're trying to do is really make it grammatically correct. We're not changing
Right.
the sense of it. So, and they
That's
said
right.
they have not completed it yet. Didn't she say that they were still doing some things with it?
No, I think they adopted this at their
Right.
Oh, okay.
annual meeting. So, and their annual meeting was
Hmm.
a few weeks earlier than ours, a couple of weeks anyway.
So I think that two of the things that I was thinking about adding, but I don't think it needs it now that, as you were reading it aloud, that helped. In the summary, if you just go up a little bit, in the summary, when it was listing examples, I was thinking, well, we would need to have something about special districts, but it's covered by saying in-depth coverage of governmental entities, and a special district is a governmental entity, so that would be taken care of. The other thing, if you scroll down just a little bit, I believe it's number 3, but I'm not sure. I think digital formats are covered because it says may take a variety of forms. And
Right.
so I think that both of my
Except its support for the viability of local news may take a variety of forms.
Yeah, that's the support, but if you look at number 1, it says the league supports
Oh,
critical and ethical journalism in whatever
whatever,
format it
yes.
is.
Format.
So
Yeah.
that's where I think they've got social media and all those things. They want
Right.
news access wherever. Celeste?
So a question I have is this it? It's a local news position and that's it?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, because if we want to go national, we should probably want to expand this to regional news and national news. And I think it's fine for local news. One thing I notice it's not in here that maybe should be in here is something about Freedom of Information Acts, but I don't know if maybe that's not relevant to news. I feel like if I often hear about news organizations filing a Freedom of Information request, and they're on the ground floor doing this. And so I wonder if the League of Women Voters of Washington thought about FOIA requests and their role with important news events.
I wonder, does anybody have can somebody right now look at the Washington report? Do you guys have it handy? Because I don't remember anything in that report. Diana, did you want to say something?
I'm sorry that the caucus down in Denver on that because we were traveling. Do they really think that all news is just covering local government entities?
I'm with you, Diana. I had a problem with the top where it just lists all these meetings and it's like, well, and also the effects of the decisions would be news. I mean,
Well, I'm thinking fires, I'm thinking car accidents, I'm thinking at least fires, other things that government really might involved in, but destructive events like hurricanes, and they don't have anything to do. They're not starting in government entities. And that's news.
But that's getting out of the positions. That's getting out of the league positions. So you have to think about the league positions.
because they're not telling them how to run a news outlet.
Right.
Like you could wrap a bunch of council meetings with cartoons. I think they're staying out of the business of deciding what the audience will latch on to, but they're just insisting that we would be covering these meetings. I took a little bit of issue, and I guess it's probably me because I'm a yabba bird, but this position in brief with credible local journal. Well, what makes it credible? Because like our Observer Corps is definitely meant to boost local journalism, but somebody could say, well, those aren't journalists. Like where's the definition of credible? We're leaving that kind of open to interpretation. And then the government entities, I get that it's with the positions, but everything like how we handle a fire and stuff would relate back to this. If we go changing it too much, then it's too difficult.
Jory? Oh, I'm sorry, Sonia, were you done?
Go ahead.
Jory?
You're muted, sorry.
Yeah, where are you, Jory?
I gotta unmute. That's what's the problem.
Okay.
I just wanted to address the statement about incorporating national and regional news in this. One of the things that our studies have shown is that democracy decreases when coverage of local news decreases or participation in democracy
decreases as local news decreases. And that's kind of our whole thing, is that as the big national and regional papers take over, local news, which is vital to everyday life in big ways, is lost. That participation, that desire to know about it, the desire to participate. So that's what we formed NAL for, was to support the local news. So I'm just going to advocate that we not go national with this, that we not put national and regional in this, that we keep the focus on local news. And I realize that, like up in Wyoming, some of them, they're going to be lucky if they do have a regional paper that will become their local paper. But we want to support the existing local papers, and that's what I think the position ought to include. So that's my 2 cents worth.
Yeah, I agree. Celeste?
So an interesting thing has happened in the city of Boulder where I live. The Boulder Daily Camera is becoming less and less of a reputable paper or a useful paper. It's getting skinnier and skinnier. It's fewer local reporters, etc. And what's happening is, like, one person has started something called the Boulder Beat, and she follows the city council, and she has certain things she follows. And I was an opinion editor on one of her, on her panel of opinion people. And then another thing called the Boulder Reporting Lab has started, and that one, it seems much more professional and not taking a stance on things, much more even keeled. So I've asked other people if they would be on this opinion panel, and the response I get is, no way would I work with that paper. That it's all on the Boulder Reporting Lab, and Boulder Beat are both online. And so I don't know what to think of local news. And I mean, do we want to have any standards listed? Are there some standards out there that people should be using?
We've in our past positions, we've said we adopt the Society of SPJ, Society of Professional Journalists. They have a list of ethical standards that a publication, whether, and I think that goes for whether it's print, online, or video, ought to be following.
Yeah, and I think that's what Washington in their report is really long, but there's something about the Society of Professional Journalists. And
yes, there is. Yes.
Yeah.
And should that be in the position also, in the position language? I don't know.
Well, that could go to Sonia's credibility question as well. So maybe it should, that as credible as defined by the SPJ or something.
Someone might say, though, that if SPJ disbands, like in 20 years, if that organization doesn't exist, what would be the placeholder? An organization, I don't know, some descriptive that would be a watchdog group.
Or we could just take their standards and say, here they are, here's the 10 or 12 of them, whatever, and then,
But
it's codified.
I was just thinking, every time this comes up, I go back to the healthcare position. And the healthcare position that I remember, doesn't say anything about whether your doctor is certified by the AMA. So I wonder if that's something, I just wonder if that's something we should get into, if that isn't getting into weeds too much.
Well, and maybe that's why the word credible isn't such a bad word. You kind of know what it means, and if it has to be defined in real time, it's a word that's in there that you can pull from. You can use.
Yeah, and again, if we're local, but our local news depends on League of Women Voters Observer Corps, that's a lot different than a cadre of professionally trained journalists who
Yeah.
probably aren't doing as good a job as the League of Women Voters observers, but that's beside the point.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well,
because
there's depth and there's breadth.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
the two
you
need
have
to meet
citizen-
somewhere.
Yeah, and citizen journalists, does that, if you have those, the Society of Professional Journalists, if you have that include, does that include citizen journalists? So are you excluding them if you put that in?
I don't think so. I'd have to look at it again, but that doesn't say it has to come from somebody with a degree from an accredited university. It just says, here's what we expect a journalist to do, and ... As far as I remember, I'd have to look at them again. I haven't looked at them for a couple of years since we put them on the website, but
Is it maybe simpler than we think? Could we replace credible with something like verifiable or fact checked or something that is just like, so maybe a blogger could be doing it, but if the blogger is not like in way out conspiracy land, it could hold.
Yeah, I like that better. I like
Verifiable.
better than credible.
Another,
You know, credible to you is not the same as credible to me. What I
Right.
believe is not the same as what you believe.
Yeah.
So
we could also use the term best practices. That's an idea. Then you don't have to say SPJ or.
Yeah.
Dixie?
I'm a little worried about changing even words like that. I think this goes back to talking to national. If we're doing a consensus, what can we effectively change? We need to know these things before we jump in, because they've done the study and they came up with the word credible. Now we might personally like another word better, or maybe can we put little asterisks and say, and then the asterisk at the bottom of the position says, kind of further defines credible, but we keep the position the same. This is where I think we really need to understand what are our parameters for bringing this forward as a consensus. And to me, the person who's going to, I always go to Linda Mahan for everything, but if I really wanted to do it in this case, I would want someone at National to be my guide, because they're the ones that are gonna, we're taking it as, we want to take it to National as a position, and they've guided us. So if we can find someone to do that for us.
And I don't think we can change their position paper without, I think, if we want to, once we develop ours, then say, could we meet together and do that through National in some way to, but I think talking to National is the first step. I agree with you, Dixie. I think that, and then so that we can figure out whether we have to just assume theirs or they have to assume ours before, how do we bring the beginning of a consensus between states?
Well, a convention, there's the friendly amendment. There was a whole back and forth. Like, we like it, but, and there must be a similar process here. If you want our consensus, I mean, it's politics, right? Give us this and then we'll sign.
Why couldn't you put a letter with it, just in your letter with it, and just explain kind of what your suggestions were, rather than changing the doc as it is?
Well, I think Dixie's got a point though, and Kay, when they say that we need to ask somebody at National what the parameters are before we suggest changes, because it may be that they will say, if you're going to concur, you concur with their position, or I really don't know. I don't know these steps. Kathy, were you going to say something? But you're muted, dear.
I'm trying to get into US League management and find a page about consensus. So when I do, I will put that the link to it in chat. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Celeste.
So, what I would love is for us to maybe to have two prongs. One is work with the position that we have, And also, at the same time, write the position we'd like to see, or improve it. And maybe we'll have to do a consensus for a question about credibility or whatever. But it's nice to have our own ideas also, because then when we go talk to Washington or national, we can bring up these other ideas when it's appropriate, and it wouldn't, we're talking about them right now anyway, so I hope somebody's jotting them down.
I'm trying hard to keep up with y'all.
Great.
Okay, so
Good thing we have a recording.
yay, yay. For the first time ever, I hit the record button. Okay, so,
Aha. I'm sorry, I just found some stuff.
okay,
I'm gonna post it.
okay. Okay, so okay, does this sound like a plan then? I don't think we don't have time at this meeting to come to produce a position that we would like, or the revisions that we would like. So does it, well, do you think that we do, Kat?
I would try. Because
At
it's
this
not,
meeting?
we're not asking for huge changes.
Mhm.
You know, we're asking for doable things. And Celeste, if I remember correctly, when you were giving us an example, you said that some state did acquiesce to what was being asked.
Well,
Is that-
yeah, but all I'm saying is to take some time to think about what we want.
Yeah, to
But
do it offline, that's all.
yeah, just to do it offline.
Oh,
and-
okay.
I mean, I think we need to, sounds to me what you all want to do is, and you're recommending is to alter, if we want to alter this position to what we think it should be, and then talk to Washington, or
Mhm.
and then go to national, or should it be the other way around?
Okay, look at what I just posted. Number
Okay.
one, the first one is titled studies, but if you scroll down, there's a section that I have to say I have not read, but there's a section that says consensus questions. So this is in league management. The second thing that came up on my league management search was league lingo. That is specific. That's specific for the league. And so I think both links might be helpful.
Okay.
What can you, is this what we're is this what we're looking at over on the left now? Does
Yeah,
everybody have this on their left, or is it just me?
somebody brought it up,
I
Okay.
did.
shared
I
it.
did,
So yeah,
Okay, so
just keep scrolling. I came to
Year two?
the consensus questions. Keep going past this timeline.
Oh, okay.
Keep going. Keep going. Yeah, just keep scrolling down.
Consensus questions is also in year 2.
Is it
Yeah,
Yeah.
there? Bingo.
okay. And I did ask Washington, I've asked them twice for their consensus questions, but they have never I don't know, but they have not given them to me.
See, look at concurrent statement.
Okay. If the board or convention has recommended a concurrence process, then the study committee will propose a concurrent statement to the board.
Mhm.
May only agree or disagree. Okay. Okay.
I'd like to say that, people are not super fast and rigid with the rules sometimes. So we could also think about what we want and propose it and see if the national or Washington or whatever would agree. And it can fly sometimes. Like, they don't always know how the rules work either, or they're not, maybe they don't like the rule that's written there or whatever, so
Uh-huh.
Mhm,
don't be too constrained.
Right.
right, okay,
Think big,
yeah,
okay? Think big.
okay,
It seems to me that honestly, the only thing we've talked about right now as being any problem at all is that word, which I forgot what it was. It started with the C. It was credibility. And so we might want to make some changes there, but if it were me and looking at the summertime and how little time we have to do all this, I would kind of start all prongs at once. I would put out a feeler to national because it's going to take a while for someone to get back to us, to connect us to the right person. Who can we work with? So I would start that. And I would also start talking to Washington and say, we really want to use this for national. What do you think? And then at the same time, we can be looking at, just like Celeste said, what do we think would be the ideal way to word it? But meanwhile, the other feelers are going out just because of timing. If we wait to do one thing and then we don't want to do till we get Washington, we don't want to talk to, I mean, it feels like there's a lot of things that we could sort of get rolling a little bit. And then when the national person says, oh, I'll work with you, then by then, hopefully we will know, we can say, well, could we make changes? If so, here's what they might be. But if they say not, then we don't even have to bring it up. But we've got everything kind of rolling at once. That's how I would think would be the good way to do it, just because of the need to get things going quickly.
okay. Does that, okay, so based on that, I'm going to suggest that tonight I will contact Washington and tell them that we have a change of plans and we don't want to stay with the state level because we really think this is an urgent issue that should be brought to national attention, and we'd like to do that. And is it okay with them? And then at the same time, we have to figure out who we contact at national. I have not, I contacted national about something else we did, and I heard right away. But then when she went to send it on to committees to find out exactly how to handle it, it was just dropped. I never heard again. So I think we need to ask somebody who knows where we go.
Do you want me to do that?
Sure.
I will throw my title around.
All right.
With the
Hey,
whole
I'm all for that.
thing.
Okay. And then do we want to meet maybe next week and talk about the specific position, if there's things we want to change or tweak, or should we even be doing that right now?
Yes,
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
for sure.
Okay, so over Memorial Day weekend, do you mind having homework that you have to go over this position and see what you want to change or what you want to address?
So Linda, can
Yeah.
you post somewhere or send it to us in an email, their whole document, Washington's whole document? I can't find it. And I know I have it somewhere, but I can't
That's-
find it anywhere.
Yeah, the study report.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's long. It's like 150 pages,
Yeah.
but yeah,
I'm a good skimmer.
okay. And it's a really good report. It's really user friendly because they have at the beginning of the report how to use this report, and it has instructions where to find what you need. It's excellent.
Nice.
So,
I have a question.
okay,
So there have been changes in the news. It used to be that for reporting, like you could have a candidate statement, like elections are being an informed voter is mentioned, I think, in the position. And it used to be like you had to give equal time to candidates, and that rule isn't there anymore. So some of these FCC rules, I think it's FCC, have changed. And I wonder, when we're thinking about other things to talk about, should we be asking for did the Washington study look into those changes, and does Washington study want us to go back to those things? Or, Voice of America has changed. That's national, that's international, or propaganda maybe, or something. But there've been lots and lots and lots of changes.
Mhm, yeah.
And
Well, I will send I can send out the report and we can see what, I don't remember if Washington even talked about freedom of information. I can't imagine that they didn't, but I don't remember seeing that as a specific, it was really limited to local news, and it was an in-depth study about the state of okay, and I sent this out in an email. I think at the caucus, I may have misled people because this position that they developed is for news in any format.
Mhm.
But they state in their report in the introduction that they focused on newspapers because that's where the drain is, or that's why they were concerned. And it was all about their local newspapers in Washington.
but it also says whatever format.
Yes,
Yeah, their
Right.
position, but their study report was focused on newspapers. But that's why I wish I had the consensus questions, because
Mhm.
I think it would make it a little clearer, but I don't have them,
So would that cover something like the Loveland Voice, which is new and it's online? You
Well,
know,
yeah, in any format, that to me, that says.
right,
Any format,
right,
you know.
right.
I have,
So I was the FCC things that I was talking about, one is called the Fairness Doctrine, and another one is called the Equal Time Rule. So I don't know if those are mentioned, but that's two more things to think about.
So Celeste, I think
Yeah.
that when we're talking, a perfect example about why it's necessary in some way to acknowledge the Freedom of Information Act, we have a perfect example in Greeley and what's happening with the redistricting
Right.
and what is being reported about redistricting in Greeley. So it's a local paper, it's the Greeley Tribune, right? We're talking about a local paper here. And the Greeley Weld League filed a Freedom of Information Act request for it. So that's a pertinent question. That's a pertinent item.
I could say that, the league was behind Freedom of Information Act from the beginning. Maybe it doesn't exist in this position because we already have it. We're already strong on board with FOI. So if we want to hear it echoed in this, that, is a fair sentiment, but we're all over and, with our might behind FOI. So that might be.
Is it in the national? Is it in any national position? Oh, then we're covered.
Yeah.
We're covered.
Yeah, in fact, I wrote it into I did this recorded audio orientation to League for the Observer Corps, and I mention it because it's a pivot point for League, that we did that. Like, it's like the Affordable Care Act. We were there, So that's probably what.
Cool.
I have a small point before we're done. I mean, I think it's small. I think it's related, but recently I have had an impulse that I want to reach back to Anna Brugman, because she helped us a lot when we went to national last summer, and she did a recording for us, and she's part of the national local news effort. And she's not a league member, so I wouldn't pull her into this whole discussion, but I am curious to know, I mean, since we've fallen different paths because nothing was in our legislature this year about it. So never really reconnected with Anna, but I would like to hear what states her organization is now working with, because if those states have leagues, I would like to know if they're aware of the work of this local journalism group, because they should be, and connections with those leagues in particular should happen first for any concurrence.
What is her group?
Report for America, I think.
Yes.
Report for America.
Yeah, that was one of the names, and they will set up interns. They'll get them into newsrooms and get their salaries funded, and they also are constantly writing legislation for any legislator that might run a bill to support local news, and it did not prevail in Colorado, and then got dropped by that legislator. So we're out of touch, but I think it might circle back, and they're such a great resource for this conversation. So I guess I'm just asking if maybe Linda should do it. I don't mind doing it, but reach to Anna and tell her that we're still here and find out what's up with her. And if there's anything specific that I should perhaps ask her, or I can just kind of, say, hey, we're thinking of you, and what states are you working with now? What's been most successful?
I think asking about the states is a really good idea.
Yeah, I think
do
that's a
too.
good idea.
Mhm.
Go
Okay,
for it, Sonia.
okay.
Okay.
Linda, kind of what I'm hearing, just kind of I'm sorry I had to leave for a second there, but so you may have said this. It sounds like to me that you kind of have two tracks here. We should probably take the document of Washington and say what we like, and only the minor changes we're going to make, and then add to it. These would be things in addition to that we feel that weren't included. And that would be kind of, this is our whole report. This is what was theirs that we agree with just some wordsmithing. And this is what then would be our suggestions to that. And then maybe that's where we then go to both leagues, the state and the national, saying, we have looked at another, we are thinking about, and that way we've got it. We haven't spent an exorbitant amount of time. And so if we get a throwback to, well, that may not work or something else, we will have at least can move forward with that. Any other people's feelings about that?
I think isn't that pretty much what we agreed? I think is that we would all go over the position. We'll get back together and go over the position. But in the meantime, we should talk to Washington, and Kathy's going to find out about national, and Sonia's going to contact Anna, and Celeste. I need your emails because I have everybody else's email. So would you put your email in the chat for me, please?
Doing it right now.
Okay.
So repeat again, Kathy's going to do Washington and Sonia's going to do Report of America. Is there someone else too?
Okay, I'm going to contact Washington State,
Okay.
say, hey, we would like to take this up to the national level.
Mhm.
Instead
Okay.
of limiting to Colorado. And Kathy is going to try to find who to contact at the national level for questions and
Mhm.
what the boundaries are for this. And then Sonia's going to contact Anna Brookman. Was that all, you guys?
I think that's everything.
Yeah. Okay. Can you think of anything else we need to do right now?
And then we're all going to go offline and think about how we want to tweak it and what we might want to add.
Say
to
that
it.
a little louder, please, Kathy.
And then we're all going to go offline and consider how we might want to tweak the existing position and what we might want to add to it.
So
I could address Celeste's point here, net neutrality and the Telecom Act, and there's Section 230 that's very important too. And we're aware of these things. My feeling is that this position is on purpose limited to elevating local news.
Yes.
Because when we studied Section 230 and net neutrality and stuff, it's a it's a crazy, I mean, there are really good points on both sides, and you can step into fire if you start advocating that we tear any of those down or build. I mean, you know the world today. It's like, it's social media. Is it good? Is it bad? And we can't make a position that takes a stand on that, really.
And then that
Well,
really
and I
does
think,
get into freedom of information too. So
yeah, wasn't there a stand already taken that at convention last summer on net neutrality and all that, the
That's the digital
Telecommunications
equity.
Act? I think Maine was involved.
Maine, yeah,
Sue
Maine is
Sue
really
Ford
big on
from,
that, yeah.
yeah,
And they've
yeah.
been having, they call it digital democracy.
yeah.
They've been having a lot of webinars, but I don't think they have a position. But anyway, yeah,
And we kind of disagreed with Maine when
Yeah.
they came up with what they did, so.
Yeah, especially on the social media thing.
Yeah.
You know, they were sort of like burn it to the ground, and we were
Right.
like, well, no.
Yeah. That's
So
gonna be
Linda,
yes.
yeah, unless we are meeting before a month from now, then we should, can you either put that Google Doc where we can have a conversation going, or when we have ideas as we're reviewing the document of what we might want to add or change or whatever, that we can have a conversation, at least a written conversation, for all of us to be thinking about in the meantime.
Okay, well, my thought, yeah, I can do that. My thought was that we should not wait for a month to have another meeting.
Good.
Yeah, we probably should meet, like, if everybody's okay just sticking with Tuesdays. And next Tuesday,
Depends on the Tuesday.
okay, well, and then, what, my
So
brain.
you're looking at next Tuesday, right, Linda?
Yeah, yeah, that
So
would,
next Tuesday, Kathy.
That one works.
yes, the
That one
30th,
works. The 6th doesn't, but that one works.
okay.
I've got something at 6 PM that day, but if it was a little earlier, I could do it. Or Wednesday looks good.
It
I
just,
can't do
Can
Wednesday.
we do it earlier on Tuesday, everybody?
I can, so that,
Me too.
you know,
5 o'clock on Tuesday, next Tuesday, will that work for everybody?
About
That's-
4:30. 4:30 to 5:30, so it's an hour earlier than the usual.
Okay, who can do that? Raise your hand. Okay, okay, Jor, E, and Celeste,
I'm checking. I have to check. Hold on. So we're looking at next Tuesday, the 30th
mhm.
at 4:30.
at 4:30. I believe I am available.
Oh, yay, okay, so 4:30 next Tuesday, it's the 30th, May 30th. And then, okay, did I cover everything? You guys for now? I have one more agenda item that I had sent out an email. Oh, and I will send to everybody Washington's study report and the position, okay?
Is
So that
the
you all
study
have-
report, the long document, is that what you're calling the study report?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's their
Okay.
report
Okay, okay.
and position. Okay, and I have one more item if we're ready to move on from this one.
Can I add one thing? I think
Yeah.
everybody should go to the league management page that I posted and
Okay.
read what it says there about studies and consensus and all that jazz. Okay.
Okay. Now, Linda Mahan offered to talk to me after we had our meeting. Do we have any questions for her? Do you guys have any questions for her? I can just tell her what we think and this is where we're headed, what our plans are.
You might ask her if it helps Kathy at all, if she has any names at National that she's aware of. I mean, maybe Kathy, you don't care, maybe you know already and you're already there, but she's done
For
the
this?
national convention
No,
for so many years. She probably knows some folks at National.
Yeah, if she knows somebody, that's great. She could let me know. That would be good. I
Okay,
know some people for other things there, but not necessarily for this.
okay. All right, so we're ready to move on to the last agenda item, the last agenda item. Okay, so I put this in an email, but I didn't get much response. Karen Sheik contacted me, and the Voters Service of Boulder County would like to have a handout on recognize tools for spotting mis and disinformation for the voters. And I thought that would be easy enough to make a simple handout that has, on our news literacy page,
Mhm.
we have all those tools, and I don't know why you would want an actual hard copy handout. I just tell them to go to the news literacy page because you can hit the links, but she wants a handout. So are you all okay with that? And I'll create it and run it by you, and then,
Linda, do you have it in Spanish?
no, we don't have it in Spanish.
But we have money, we could get it translated if we
Uh-huh.
want. So,
So
I
what is this handout for again?
It's for, it's tools for spotting mis and disinformation. And
I
if you
think-
go,
Table events. I think that Kathy's question is like, where's it gonna go, right?
Yeah.
At public events where league appears, that it might be one more thing on the table where people could
Okay.
get, right?
Does the state voter services have anything already?
or national, I mean, I'm thinking of national's got a whole bunch of social media posts on how to do that, Linda, we could probably just slap those onto a flyer or something if that's what they want.
yeah, well, one of the tools is the league's, US league's, how to spot mis and disinformation. And then I think some of the other things are factchecker.org and news literacy project, all those types of things. So
Well, what I was seeing of, they've got some posts that are like number 1 this, number 2 that,
yeah, on the league page. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that
I
this
just take 'em.
this is a sign that this is, I think what they're looking for is, this is a sign that maybe this is a biased report. Here are some words that is this, am I hearing this right? That's what they're looking for, is some sort of checklist. Here are some words that might raise red flags for you. Here are some, are they quoting a verifiable source? Are they this? Are they that? Is it original reporting? Is it, that?
Yeah, I hear you, Jory. I think that she's probably looking for some written statements.
Mhm.
And then at the bottom, there's some QR codes, some of the, you
Yeah.
could go here or here or here, but that there's on a quick pass, there's like 4 good points a person might remember that might be new to them.
Right.
Okay, well, what I was gonna do is just, because what she said, I described, Karen knows what's on this webpage, but they want actual handouts. So I
Yeah.
was going to copy this part and put it there with the link to the page and do probably 1, 2, I don't know, this isn't.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying is, I don't think she's looking for, where can I go? It's, I've got this article here in front of me, and how do I know if
Yeah,
it's,
that's what she told, this is what she told me she wants, so,
okay.
This,
yes, these things, this
you've
is
got
what
it, you've got a trifold right here.
Yeah.
that's what I said,
Seriously.
Yeah.
so,
Easy
um,
peasy.
but she wants, I suggested just going to the website, but they want a handout. So,
Well, maybe just use this and where you
Yeah.
have the hyperlink here, swap it for a QR code so that it can live on paper.
Yeah, I can make you QR codes if you want, so.
Yeah, you're gonna have to.
Or just write the address. I know
Yeah,
QR codes work for kids, but
I don't think it'd
What's
be
the
that
database?
hard to create, really.
yeah.
Yeah, and they want this for voters, right?
Yeah,
They want this for voters.
right.
So you want as little, as concise language as possible on it, because people are not going to read a lot. They're not going to want to read a lot of text.
Well,
Okay.
and that's the problem with the flyer is that it really depends on that white space to make
Yeah.
it readable and attractive,
Yeah.
and not something that somebody's gonna go, oh, you
So
know,
do
that's
you,
just
I mean,
dense.
Jory, do you want to put it together?
Well,
think
I don't
you're
want
the
to take it
designer.
away from Linda if she'd enjoy doing that. That's
I don't really, yeah, I have a lot of fun doing these things. I can put the words down for you, and if you can make it pretty.
I
But
will
she
make it
just
pretty.
She just wants a one-page thing. She doesn't want a flyer. She just wants a one-page
She
handout.
doesn't want a trifold.
No,
Okay.
They won't have to fold it.
a one-page handout that you can Xerox or
Well,
whatever.
and I'm assuming she doesn't want an 8.5 by 11. She probably wants at most a 5 by 7.
Uh,
Who knows? Okay,
Yeah,
we'll
I
play
don't
with it.
Yeah, I just said, can't you just tell them on your voter pamphlets where to go look for information? And she said, no, people like a handout. And I thought,
Do it.
why do they want a handout? They've got to retype this whole, but whatever. I guess some
Whatever.
people just don't want to do it that way, so.
And they don't want to have to search. They want it right there, right there.
Well, that's why I'm thinking, well, why don't we just tell them, here's how you know an article is bogus.
Bingo.
Here are some steps to find, here are some other places that give you more information, but we'll do it this way.
I wouldn't even send them to, I wouldn't even put here some more, places you can go. Give them the basics of what you were just saying, period.
I think maybe Jory should
make
get
it
in
simple.
touch with the woman who gave you the directive, Linda, and just say, well, we have our PR team lead ready to do this. And just, make it
She's
really
chomping
clear
at the
before
bit.
Jory puts time
Okay,
into
this
it.
was from Karen Sheik. She
Oh,
called
right.
me
Yeah,
and
you'll
she
remember Karen.
wanted it. So she wants it, and it was a request through her from the Boulder County Voter Services.
Yeah.
Okay,
So, Jory, do you want to get all over that?
I will. And
Okay.
like I say, I don't want to take it away from you though. And seriously,
No,
I don't want you to think I'm saying you can't do it, because you certainly could. But
It
you've
really
got
is a
enough on
perfect
your
PR
plate.
team project though, because it's gonna need a logo on it and
Yeah.
it's gonna have
and
to.
I
fit
think
some-
if Boulder wants it, then you can probably bet that other leagues, local
Yeah.
leagues will want it.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I wonder if I should just bypass Karen and go to Boulder Voter Services.
Maybe.
I would ask them what they want.
Especially how they're going to use it, whether they're going to
Yeah.
give it out at something or
Yeah, because this came through, you know how when it goes through multiple people, it
The
gets
game
lost
of telephone.
translation.
Yes.
Yeah. So I would, yeah, that's what I would do if you're really up for it.
Yeah, and if
And
they're gonna
Karen,
pass
she
it out at
told
high
Linda
school,
Hutchison, and she
Oh.
told me. So,
And I
okay,
can probably find that on their website, right? Whose Boulder County Voter Services are, now that Celeste is gone.
Oh, yeah, you should be able to.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would have, that's good of you, Joy, to take that on.
Did she happen to tell you a deadline? She was-
No,
Okay.
I mean, they're talking about the election time,
Oh,
so
so we've got
you've
time.
got time, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm happy to do it. And since you're doing all that stuff for the concurrence, that's,
Okay, if you have time, you're okay, but tell me if you need help, but I
Okay.
don't think you need help.
well, you've already put the web page together, so.
Okay. Okay. Okay, you guys, are we good to go? Is everybody okay with what we're doing now? Kathy?
So you're gonna contact Jane Dunk and ask her to put something on the calendar and send us the link
You mean for the next meeting?
for next week,
Yeah. Okay. All right, And then anything else, you guys? I'll send you the documents. And I will contact Washington, and Sonia's gonna contact Anna, Kathy's gonna do national, and Joy's gonna work on it. And Kathy is always taking our minutes, so that is like.
Hey, thank you.
I can add a update on Observer Corps. And I'm sure Diana could too. But we are getting reports going. If anyone were to look at that website, there are some reports listed. We're deep into the project. Paychecks are starting to get cut, and we're now looking at next steps. Like suddenly I find myself in a grant search for $250,000. I don't know how I got here, but that's what's next. We're eyeing where the funding could come, how we're going to pull that together, because it looks pretty good. We've got a pretty solid thing going on. If we can find how we're going to level up. One question in my mind is January's made it really good. It's a little complex. Diana might have a comment on it. And so Jane Hamburger is like, state might look at this and say, we can't deal with this. Like we have to streamline it, or state will be frightened to take it on because of the moving parts, because state's in a storm right now, what I'm hearing, Kathy, with a lawsuit or two. And
Lawsuit, yeah.
yeah. And that of course takes precedent. So being aware of all those things, all the partners still want the state league to lead this into the future. And they pretty much understand that this state doesn't have a budget for it. So everyone is coming together to see where that budget might come from. And the Open Media Foundation I think they just hired a grant writer person, and they're willing to loan her to us. So see where that takes us. But in July, we'll have a better picture. Diana, I'm curious to know if you have any comment on it, since Diana is observing for us. She's turned in some reports. I read them the other night. Oh, you're on mute.
You're muted.
There.
There, I thought I was getting it. It is very complicated, yes. And it doesn't move as quickly as it would be nice for it to move.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not doing it, so. But I have to go I need to work on it. So is this meeting about finished?
We are, but I will be interested to hear from you, Diana, if you have specific prescription for what you think could tidy that up and could simplify it, because I know it can be. We just need, that's part of the end game here, is how to streamline it. We've made this awesome thing, and we got to make it simpler.
Sonia Joy wants the website link in
It is citizenobserver.co, or observers with an S, citizenobservers.co.
Well, at least you've got a simple website.
Okay.
Citizen Observer.
Observers plural .co for Colorado.
.co. Okay, thank you.
Sonia, I want to apologize. I signed up to participate in that. I really wanted to, but I just ran out of time. So I'm sorry. Maybe on another round I can try to.
Well, people will come in, if it carries on, there will be plenty more opportunities, and I'm sympathetic, and it's probably good that you didn't, because Anna's saying it's a little complex. It's just a lot of this and that's going on as they ferret out what works. So, but we'll catch you.
Okay. Are you guys good to go?
Mhm.
Hey, you're quiet. Are you ready to go?
Yes, yes.
Real quiet.
I had to mute because my stomach's grumbling. So.
Uh-oh. Okay. It's dinner time.
Yes.
For us early bird diners, yes.
Okay, so I've saved the chat. I'll send you the reports and the position, and we'll meet back here at 4:30 next Tuesday.
And you're gonna put,
And I'll put it on the calendar.
No. And you're gonna tell us where we can have like a written document in between times as we find stuff out.
A Google Doc.
Something. I don't, just send us the link to what we can use for that, so that everybody can see it.
It's
I
a,
was thinking, Kathy, you could just start one if you wanted and just share it with everybody.
No,
what-
I can't,
no?
'cause I don't
Oh,
know how to do that.
Oh,
okay,
I can start one. We can share it with everybody.
okay.
Yeah, I you know, I don't know where do you want to put it? Do you want to put it, is there in the news access forum, or, you know, that you have access from the state league website?
Oh, no, I wasn't going to be that fancy, just a simple Google Doc.
And you don't want it
So
that big.
Yeah, just a simple Google Doc that we share among ourselves. So we have
Okay.
we can share it with this group, just a certain number of email addresses, people that want to
Okay.
participate, and that just keeps it simple.
Yeah,
So-
whatever way works. I'm fine with it. I just think we need it.
Do you-
And then when we
Linda,
come to
Linda-
conclusion, put it in a forum.
yeah,
What
some-
again?
When we come to a conclusion, we can put it in a forum, but when it's in brainstorm phase, I think Google Docs great. And I think it's good that you would keep it, Kathy, because you have the minutes and stuff too. So you already have a little place.
okay.
Could I
Okay.
ask that when we write something, having used Google Docs before, rather than Xing someone's out or changing it, that maybe we just kind of put in parentheses the name that we want, the thing that we want to call that, and our name. And that way, then when we get together to talk about it, it'd be a little easier to go through it. Because if we do a lot of writing, or we do, because I've tried to do this in a group with Google Docs, and sometimes it's gets too big.
Yeah.
Have you ever used that edits, the suggested edits?
No, I
feature?
haven't. So maybe that's better. Tell us
You
about
can
that.
do Comment, like on the far
Yeah.
right side, if you choose comment, it'll give you a little bubble. And then next to that paragraph, you can say, I
Okay.
think we should change this. And that'll.
Okay,
keep it
good.
right.
Just so,
Yeah.
because I mean, often then we change it and then we change it again and people don't know. That's great.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, and okay, there was one other thing that I haven't brought up, but should I ask Washington for permission to post their position in our Google group? They have not posted it in there, and Linda Mahan suggested that that's very important.
Oh, I'm sure. That's a good idea.
Okay,
You always want permission to do
Mhm.
somebody else's documents.
and then go ahead and post it.
When they say yes.
Yeah, after they say yes. Yes.
Okay. All right, okay, are you guys, are we all good?
Yeah.
All right, I'm ending it. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Linda. Thanks, everyone.
See you Tuesday.
Yep.
Okay.
Have a good weekend.
Have a
you
good one.
too. Bye.